Hey guys, listen, you are in for a treat for this interview. If you are sourdough curious, if you are a person who is simply just trying to find your thing, you are trying to find your joy, you are trying to rediscover what joy looks like for you in this season of your life, this video is for you. I am interviewing an amazing baker, someone that you should definitely know about by the name of Satchie from 2Bruhz Bakery. So sit back, listen to this as you're driving, as you're getting ready for your day. It's a long one, but it's a good one. Okay. I promise you that. Stick around until the end, and I hope that you enjoy it just as much as I have. Okay. We're live, Sachi.
And we're live.
And we're live. All right. So I'm going to ask you a series of just questions to get to know you real quick. All right.
All right.
First question. Are you a morning or midnight baker?
Um, morning.
Morning.
Baker. Yes.
Okay.
I
Are
can be a
you,
midnight baker though too. Also,
you can be. So what is your preference though?
mornings. I've always been a morning person. I'm up and
Morning
at 'em.
person.
Oh
Okay.
yeah.
I am not. I am not. All right. Are you a flour everywhere baker or spotless kitchen?
Flour everywhere.
Flour everywhere.
Yeah, my
Okay.
daughter could definitely tell you that.
Okay. Last one. Are you a bake for fun or bake for fame?
Um, it started out one way and then it's kind of ending up in another way. So started baking for fun. Now it's like baking for fame almost in my head, at least anyway.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. So that might
hmm
kick us off then. I want to
hmm
hear your story. How did Two Bruhz Bakery come about?
All right, so we dial it back to the beginning. So I'm a career chef. I've been in the culinary industry for about 23 years now. I do a lot of sports and entertainment. So a lot of sport teams, NFL, NBA, all sports, you name it, done it, been there. And concerts, big celebrities, Taylor Swift's, the Beyonce's, what have you. So I've always had a love for food and passion for food, and I'm a true foodie and geek and nerd in that manner. And I remember when I started my culinary journey. It was just about I wanted to learn more. I wanted to become, the guys that I watch, the guys that I end up idolizing. I was like, man, I need to go on this journey so I could stand as tall as these guys do, at and be as good at what they do also. So set off on this journey. Um, think about 6 years in, here comes COVID, and this is the short version of the story. COVID hits, and it slows the whole world down. Slowed me down. If you're gonna, let's put a microscope on it. It slowed me down all the way, and I was like, well, all this extra time, let me pick up something new. Always learning, trying to pick up something new, learn new things, deepen the bag, if you will. And I picked up pasta making. I studied pasta right there in my living room. I studied pasta for about a year and a half, just studying Italy, reading up on it, almost like I was there. Year and a half, every day, pasta, 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 pasta. And at this time, since everybody was home, I always like cooking on camera and teaching people how to cook and do little quick 30-minute meals and such. And I had a little segment on YouTube, not YouTube, Facebook TV called Quarantine Kitchen. And was doing all these pasta dishes, and then somebody in the comments was like, "Man, you should call it the dojo." And I was like, "Hmm." And so from that day, it became the dojo. But then it occurred to me, I was like, "Man, if I'm doing pasta dough, I have to touch bread. I have to." Like that would bring it full circle. So I'm talking to my younger brother. Mind you, my younger brother is like my biggest fan. He's a foodie, but he's on the other end. He likes to eat, love to eat. Biggest fan. And I remember one evening we were having a conversation. He was like, "Man, being in the city of Atlanta, There's caterers because I do private catering as well on the side, and there's caterers for miles and miles and miles and miles, and everyone wants to be a celebrity chef, and everybody wants to be in the spotlight. I mean, and I ain't gonna front, I do too. I want a little spotlight myself. So he said to me, he's like, man, you gotta you gotta do something that's unique. Try something different. Think of something different. And I was like, man, I've been thinking about like picking up bread. And he was like, go for it. So probably a month later, he he did the logo and the whole nine, and he was like, go for it. So I was at work one day, and one of my colleagues, that's also a chefy chef like I am, we had been talking about sourdough, and he was explaining how, how much of an art it is, and it's not easy to do, and there's not too many people that do it. And he sent me a picture. He sent me a picture, and I'll never forget. As soon as I seen this picture, I don't know what happened inside. Fire. And probably 3 weeks after that, my little brother passed away from COVID. He was 33, and um, sorry, I'm gonna tear up every time I tell this story. So after he died, it just occurred to me like this is something I have to do. Like I have to. And I just started. I started. That was 6 years ago, and I haven't stopped. I mean, that's the short version of the story. I haven't stopped. I think that fire is my brother, and I don't know. Somewhere along the line, like it started out fun, and that's why when you asked me, was it for fun or was it for fame? It started out for fun. It started out as a hobby. It started out learning something new. But the way that I took to it, I've been cooking a long time. I've been cooking a long time, and I ain't no Gordon Ramsay, but I can cook. But it took me years to develop skill, experience. It took me time to understand cooking. But the way I took to bread, I don't know if there's a such thing as a bread genius, bread savant, and it's not even a brag, but my elders in the culinary field that know about this stuff, that know about the history and the bread are telling me like, dog, within 6 months you're making so much progress. Like, are you sleeping? Seriously. And what's crazy is I wasn't. Like I was so into this new learning that I could not stop. It became an obsession. It still is, honestly, but it became an obsession. Um, I love science, and I'm nerdy in that way. So sourdough, just the process just excites me, right? And Two Bruhz Bakery. That's me and my brother, and that's to answer your question. That's what started the company. It's Two Bruhz, and it's always going to be Two Bruhz, even though it's one. It's always going to be two.
Okay, now I'm just like trying to hold back my tears. Let me just
Sorry.
say thank you for sharing that.
Oh, you're
That's
welcome.
deeply personal,
Yeah.
uh, but I can't see how you would tell your story without telling the essence of what made it what it is.
Right.
Um, and it makes it so much more special, right? That you're also honoring the joy of your brother for you and the essence of who he is that's still living in the work through your hands. So, what was his name? On me asking,
Jonathan.
Jonathan.
Hmm.
Okay, so we are sending love to Jonathan right now.
All day, every day.
That's it. Thank you so much for sharing that. Okay,
Oh, you're welcome.
so where do we go next? Are you still doing pasta?
Man, only when it's for the family, it's for dinner or something like that.
Okay,
So not like I used to.
okay. So talk to me about one of the things I want to do on this podcast is talk about joy, what that means for you,
Mm-hmm.
how you found it. Is that something that you could share?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think, well, I used to always say, and you'll hear a lot of chefs say it, a lot of people who love to cook say it. Oh, I love cooking for people. Cooking brings me joy. But it's not cooking. The cooking part is what I like to do. The baking part is what I like to do.
Okay.
I think the joy is the connection with the person or the connection with the people. That is the and if I tell my cook philosophy, chef philosophy, my medium is my food. My power is my connection with people because no matter the difference, no matter where you're from, your likes, your dislikes, we can no matter what sit down for a plate of food.
Wow.
So food is the medium. So the joy comes from somebody turn out like, damn, my belly is full, my soul is fulfilled, my family's happy. That's the golden ticket for me. Not the flavors of the food, not what I cook specifically. It's the experience and the feeling that everybody that ate the meal felt as they were eating and after.
Okay. Wow. That's amazing. Okay.
Hmm.
So continuing on the joy streak, what would you advise someone who is trying to find their joy, but like me, is sourdough curious? I'll just say that. I'm very intimidated by this whole process, but I'm sourdough curious. So, if for a person that just loves to even be in the kitchen and they're trying to figure out their thing, they're trying to, like myself, in this season of life, especially in motherhood, life looks different and joy
Right,
looks different. So, how would
right.
you? What suggestions or recommendations would you give to them to find what joy means and what it looks like?
You got to try new things. You got to um, not be afraid to break that monotony of life. Find the time. And I know as a parent, especially, just or a family, it's hard finding time because you're so stuck in routine. But don't I think the most important part is through it all, through the family, through the kids, through the career, through the blah blah blah. Like, don't lose yourself. Remember, you got to remember when you were that 9, 10-year-old kid and all these things that you wanted to do. Not even now, not young. 14, 15, when you never thought you'd become 18 and become an adult. Oh, the angst and the emotion that you had because you wanted to go do that and go do that. Like, don't lose sight of that. As you get older, don't lose sight. When you're 40, don't lose sight of that. Still have that kid in you. Still go try different things, and then eventually, I think eventually you find things that you like to do. You know, um, my wife, she likes to. She always says, "Oh, I wish I had that one thing I love to do like you." But she's good at like five different things that
Yeah.
she's good at crocheting. She cooks very well. She does nails and she makes jams because I do the breads. So, and she wants to learn how to do cakes. So some people pick up multiple hobbies. For some, it's just one thing that they like to do or two things they like to do. I mean, it may look like all I'd love to do is bake, but I love actual gaming. I'm an actual gamer. I'd be on the game heavy. That's my de-escalation tool. You know what I mean? So just gotta try different things, and eventually I feel like you'll fall into something that intrigues you, that make your eyes perk up and your ears tweak up.
I love that. I love that you said try different things. And I'm also hearing you say it doesn't have to just be one. That confused me for the longest, Satchie,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Especially when it comes to find your purpose, find your passion. And for someone like me, I'm multi hyphenate, I'm multi passionate. There's so many different things that I am interested in. But the moment that I realized one of my gifts is my curiosity, it really did help me to lean in more to also finding my joy and letting that evolve because I think that that's what life is all about. So thank you for offering that. All right, so now we're going to get into what I'm most excited to talk about, sourdough.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay. I want to know first, what's your favorite part of the sourdough making process?
The final shaping. It's kind of like putting the baby to sleep. You know, had a long day on the road with the baby, and that final moment you put that baby to sleep, it's like it's
Okay.
now you can go get the chill. So yeah,
Okay. So
the final
help me
shape.
connect though how what that looks like for sourdough.
so
Final shaping.
so the final shape is the second to last process in which you shape your dough ball in the way that you would want to bake it out or present it.
Uh,
If you think about loaved bread, the bread in the supermarket usually comes in a rectangular box, kinda. It's called Pullman. It's called Pullman loaf. Um, I like baking batards. Sometimes you see uh, loaves that are round. Those are called bulls. So all these types of bread. It could be the same dough in a different shape or have a different name. So the final shape, whatever that may look like, it may be a bagel, it may be a croissant, it may be a Pullman loaf, it may be a batard. All bread have the same second to last process, and that's shaping. So that's the second to last process before you actually bake the bread. So
okay.
it's very significant of the end. It's the end of the process.
Is this where you do the scoring to make it all pretty and stuff?
Scoring is right before you bake.
Okay. I'm
The
following.
score, yeah, the scoring is right before you bake. And there's a reason that you score. I know we're talking about the end. Well, I'm pretty sure we'll discuss the beginning at some point, but scoring is actually important and essential. And I'm pretty sure you look around and I heard that you got into your first Facebook sourdough group and all that. And I'm pretty sure you see people putting pretty designs and Christmas trees
Yes.
and turkeys and all that shit. Um, I'm not with all that. However,
Okay.
scoring the bread is important because it is a natural process and there are gases being created on the inside when you bake it. If the bread is not scored, or if the bread doesn't have a place to escape, it will escape, but it will escape in the weakest parts of your bread, and it will explode them in those parts, and then you have an odd shaped looking loaf. So that's why scoring is essential. It's not just to look pretty. It's not just for the ear of the loaf, even though that's a byproduct.
Okay.
Um, it is important to degas your bread as you're baking, so you score
I thought it was just to make it pretty. So
it.
now I know the science behind scoring. Okay. So let's start from the beginning real quick. I have my
Okay,
stuff.
Big Boosie.
Okay, Big Boosie. I'm hoping Big Boosie gonna be all right. Okay, Satchie. I want to talk about starters from the beginning.
Mhm.
So let's say day one,
Mhm.
and then maybe we can go into ranges. So day one, what is a person doing to start? You have already caught my mishap so far, like flour matters, what you're using matters. So I'm hoping that did not ruin everything.
No, not at all. Before I start, sourdough baking, bread baking in general, is very forgiving. People will convolute and make it sound like it's the hardest thing, which don't get me wrong, sourdough is by no means easy, but it's straightforward there's a lot of flexibility in it. So you can make a mistake and you can fail, but it's so easy to bounce back and get back on the right track.
Oh, what a life lesson. Come on. Oh no.
So so the starter is the bricks of the house that you're going to build. Essentially, it is the basis, it's the foundation of what you're going to build all your learning on. And you would start by mixing flour and water in equal parts. Flour, a flour with high protein, not just any flour. The protein is important to the bacteria because that's what they feed on. So equal parts flour and water mixed together in volume, um, and then put into a container, something cylindrical and tall, so you can see the bubbles, and then you can eventually see the rise as it starts to, there you go, as it starts to grow. So, in the air that we breathe, there is bacteria and there is yeast that is called lactobacillus. Now, the reason why you mix this water and this flour together is it's kind of like a net, like you fishing, you're trying to catch them, right? So you mix the flour and the water together, and you set your trap to catch this yeast and these bacteria in the air. And once you set the trap and they catch to that flour and water, they start eating and they start feeding on the sugars and on the proteins of that flour. And they also like a viscous solution. That's why you add water to it at a 1-to-1 ratio or equal parts, which would mean that your mixture is at 100% hydration because you put the same amount of water that you do the same amount of flour. So that's 1 and 1.
Hold on.
After,
Hold on. We gonna pause real quick.
pause that.
Okay. Beginners like me, I got so hung up on this ratio. I
Hmm.
wanted to know, just tell me how much of the water and the flour do I put in? So what's the ratio? I think you originally said like 50 grams of water, 50
So
grams of
when we,
flour.
so yes, so when I gave you that 50-50, that was to start with a white flour, which would have been bread flour. However, I told you to start with wheat instead, and wheat, because it's a coarser flour than white, it requires a little bit more water. So I said a 1 to 2 water to flour ratio. So it requires a little bit more water. Or to even simplify that, I sent you that video of me mixing mines to
Yep.
a pancake batter consistency. So it's
Okay.
just like breaking it down. So no matter the measurement, bring it to a pancake batter consistency, and you always be on the right track. And
Okay.
and that is
That's
why
so much.
I say it's so forgiving, because I break it down to you that way. Who needs all the numbers? Just bring it to a pancake consistency and keep going, and just make sure that your starter always has that consistency as you go.
Okay. I'm following now. So now we've got our starter.
Hmm.
I've added in. I noticed that with the whole wheat, it was really thick, and I was like, I
Hmm.
don't know if I'm doing this right. But when you gave that analogy of thick pack pancake batter, it helped me to just know how much more water to add in so that it wasn't too runny because you don't make runny pancakes. So that's helpful. All right. So now we are in, let's say, day two. So we've got it in a jar. You also reminded me to not put a lid on it, but something has to be breathable. So talk to me about that and then walk me through what we're doing between, let's just say, day two and day four.
Well, the reason why I said not to cap it or lid it is because gases are being released as a byproduct of your fermentation happening inside the flour. And people that usually seal the top, the gases build, and they break the glass. They crack the glass. Usually it's something glass that they put them in, or if it's something plastic, you'll see the top domed up because there's so much gas buildup until you let it out. So that's why it's breathable. And then not only that for gas release, also for the bacteria and the lactobacillus coming in also, because you are repeatedly going to want to catch that. Um, they have a 48-hour window of living, so you always want to make your, after you mix and feed, you want to make sure you leave it breathable so you can keep replenishing those bacteria and those yeasts in there. So day two, typically you would be discarding and feeding. And the reason why you discard is because your culture will grow, and if you don't discard, it's going to grow bigger, and you're going to have a starter factory after a while, because it's going to keep growing, overflowing. So that is the purpose of discarding. However, since I've been at this at some time, you pick up a few tricks of the trade and you learn certain things, certain ways of doing things, or you create your own certain way of doing things that just make better sense for you and your process. And that is why I suggested skip day two of feeding and go to day three. And the reason or the science behind that is the whole, if we talk about starter activity or bubbles or rise or strong starter, all these things point to activity. You know, is your starter culture active? And when they are active, that them being active equals them eating. Just think about, people that like to dance when they about to eat. You know what I mean? It's the same process. They're happy eating and their itis kick in. Then you see those bubbles start to lose their shape and start to flatten out, and you start to see this clear liquid build on top. That is just a sign of hunger. Right? That is lactic acid and acetic acid. It's hooch. It's alcohol. Alcohol making, sourdough making have the same beginning process. And that is what causes that. So that is why you feed them, because now they're exhausted, they're hungry again. You feed them and keep them active. So that results in a rise and fall of your starter. So it's now that rise and fall is like working out a muscle. It's like doing curling, when you push the weight, your muscles flex, you let it go, your muscles loosen up. You'd be essentially doing the same thing with your starter, and that is how you get it strong. The more up and down it goes, the stronger it gets, and the more responsive that your starter culture becomes. Now, I can take it one step further and say, and this is theory, it's my theory, and um, might sound crazy, but my theory is that, like, once you get your culture acclimated to the baking, it's like they know when they're supposed to, after the feed, they know that it's only supposed to take 3 hours to rise. Like, they have personalities of their own. And the way I can, and this is jumping ahead a lot, but the way I can test this theory is that you can have one lump of dough and you can divide that lump of dough into two, and you can shape them the same, you can proof them the same, you can bulk them the same, you can score them the same, you can bake them the same. However, there's two loaves of bread that's coming out that's going to be different every single time. Every single time. It don't matter if you bake two or you bake 100. Every loaf is gonna have their own little personality. And when I say personality, it's just little characteristics of the loaf that's gonna be different loaf to loaf. So this is why I say they know they have. It's why when I talk about starter, I talk about it like it's a human, or it's a living. It is a living thing, and that is the part that it just excites me and got me hooked, because it's the closest thing to creation. I mean, come on. It is chemistry, and it's like biochemistry in motion. It is alchemy at its peak, and you're literally creating something from nothing. Literally. You're taking literally something from out of the air, and you're bringing it to life, and you're creating something with it. That's like the Frankenstein story. So, like, that is what keeps me hooked on sourdough. It's just the science of it. It is, and then when you see it in motion, that's what's like, oh my God, I just manipulated this, and this is what I got. I'm gonna keep going on this because this is fun. So yeah.
Okay, you just made so many connections for me, but where I just got chills is I had an aha moment of why this intrigues me so much. I'm a very spiritual person, so I
Hmm.
look for God in everything.
Hmm.
And one of the things that I've learned is that I feel most connected to God when I am creating, when I am taking something from nothing.
Hmm.
Um, so I would have never thought I'm gonna, oh my gosh, just making a sourdough starter would also feel like part of my spiritual practice as well too. So
Hmm.
thank you for offering that. All right, so we're gonna skip day two. Day three, we're going to, let me see if I can remember. Add in like 50 more grams of flour, 50 more grams of water. Remind me which flour we're using right now. We started off with whole
We
wheat.
we started off with whole wheat. And there's a reason why we start off with whole wheat, because it is a coarse flour, it provides the optimal environment for bacteria and yeast to feed. So We start out with wheat, we get that culture strong, and then through the process of 14 days, it's
Yep.
14 days of discarding and feeding, really 13 since we skipped one. And then we kind of switched now into bread flour. Um, we didn't have to. We could have kept it all wheat, but I want you to get a few modes of learning all in at the same time. Um, we'll we'll feed it to a point where there's hardly any wheat left, and then after that you start feeding with your bread flour. Wheat now becomes a treat for them, right? Wheat will now get them excited because that's what you started them on. So after you've baked for a while, they will weaken a little bit. Oh, you guys need a little treat, and you throw some whole wheat in there, and you'll see the difference. You'll see the difference when you do put that whole wheat. It's because they were born into that. And again, I speak about them like they are actually alive because they are actually alive. So they were born into wheat, and then you take that wheat away from them and you give them a secondary something is not as good, just as good, but not as good. And then when you introduce that wheat to them later on in life, it's an excitement party.
Okay. So we're going to do that. This is so exciting. And I love that you're referencing, our starter as a person because I did
Hmm.
name her Big
And
Boosie.
that's why everybody names them. Yeah, they're
I
alive.
love that.
Hmm.
All right. So now we're going to discard, add in. So let's just kind of fast forward to day 8 where I thought I lost Big Boosie. I thought she was gone. I'm still worried about her. I noticed that when I fed her, which typically is about 6 o'clock every evening, she didn't do that rise and fall. It was just kind of stable. I saw some slight bubbles, but again, it wasn't that expansion.
Hmm.
So tell me, is she alive? Is she struggling? Is what's supposed to happen?
So two things. If your yeast culture was truly dead, there are signs that will tell you and point to that it's truly dead. Like the clear liquid that gets on top, if left long enough, it turns black,
Oh,
total black. That's dead. Or it becomes cam yeast, which cam yeast is a different type of yeast that will grow on top of your starter if left unfed for too long or left out too long. The bacteria concentration becomes way too high. And then a kind of yeast that is not good for human consumption, that is a sign that your yeast is dead or dying. So there are signs. So if you don't see none of these signs, they're good. And you have to remember the same bacteria that we're trapping in the air now is the same bacteria that was alive when Adam and Eve was came into the picture and throughout the ice ages and all and the flood and all that. They have stood the test of time and will forever be here before us and way after us. They'll still be here, those bacteria. So they're kind of immortal in that manner, right? So when you say, "Oh, is it dead?" No, it's kind of hard to kill. It's kind of hard to kill. All they need is a little bit of reviving or enticement, right? Reviving and enticement, protein and sugar. Those are their two favorite snacks that they love. That will get them up and at them. But in the beginning stages, let's say the first 10 days, um, the byproduct of your starter feeding and digesting what the byproducts is not yet healthy for human consumption. So this is the reason why it lasts 14 days. You have to prime them, what I call prime them, and get them ready to bake for human consumption. So the 14 days is very daunting to a lot of people. Oh my God, I gotta wait that long just to bake. But yeah, understand two things come out through a lot of things come out of this. You're learning, one. You got to prime your starter and get it ready so people could eat it. And three, after you're done, there's no more 14 days. Now you could just use it when you're ready to bake. All right. So it's only a one-time thing you got to go through. You know what I'm saying? Go through that long struggle. If some people look at it like a struggle, for those that are open-minded and very excited about the whole thing, that's they tend to go very far in the process. I've had people that give up after the third day. They don't know what the hell going on. They can't wait this long. It's a patience thing, and I get that too. And so that's why I said to you the other day, the only the strongest survive in this one, because truly, just what it takes. It takes 2 days to make a loaf, essentially. Just hearing that, would deter a lot of people, but it might excite a lot of people. Who knows?
Okay. Well, I'm definitely trying to work on my patience. And you
Hmm.
keep reminding me, patience, young grasshopper.
Yeah, you got to be patient. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
great. So should I be seeing it rise and fall right now?
When did you feed it?
I fed it last night.
Oh, you wouldn't. So it's probably already exhausted. So you need to feed it again today.
Okay, so I did put, I don't know if this is wrong, but I put a little bit of wheat flour in there just to
So
give it some
what did you feed it with?
wheat flour.
So you said you put a little wheat in there.
Well, today, like,
Okay.
I normally, the feeding time is around 6 o'clock in the evening, but this morning I felt like it just needed a little something. So I put in like a tablespoon of whole wheat flour, tablespoon, a little bit more water, and it's starting to bubble again, but I haven't really seen it like
You're not
fluctuate
gonna you're
much.
not gonna from that you're not. I mean, if you're gonna feed it, feed it. And don't feel like it has to be fed at the same time every day. If you wake
Oh,
up, feed it. If you just happen to be in the kitchen at that time, feed it. You know what I mean?
okay.
It will acclimate. And the more you feed, the more you'll see the activity. However, the longer you wait to feed them is the longer they'll wait to grow. They acclimate. That's what I'm saying.
Really?
They will acclimate. So they will if you put them on a consistent feeding regimen where they're not waiting so long to eat, they will respond in that manner.
So maybe that's what's happening.
Hmm.
Okay. So I am on day 10 right now.
Okay.
Yesterday you advised that I did not discard and I just feed it. So
Hmm.
what should I do technically today? Should I
You
be
can
discard?
dis Yes, you could discard today. And volume is important, right? Because it's the volume is what kind of creates the environment. So you don't like you started a bit shallow, and that's fine. And that's why I told you a couple times, like, okay, this day don't discard because we need to build that volume up. But now
Okay.
that you have a volume, because what you don't want to do, and if it happens, it's still a good sign, is it to rise and then overflow. Just because you have a mess now, you have to clean up. However, if that does happen, that's a very good sign that it does
Okay.
happen.
Well, I kind
But
of almost would rather have more than not enough. And then when it's time for me to want to bake again, I have to go through another 14 days or so.
no, you don't. That's what I'm saying. You don't have to wait another. Once the first 14 days is established, you can now bake and feed as you need. There's no
Okay. So
need
I'm
to
not going to
wait.
eat all of this.
Nah, nah. I mean, you're gonna. I'm assuming you're gonna start out baking one loaf at a
Yes.
time. Yeah, you're not gonna need all of that
Okay.
at one time.
Okay. So let's talk about now my process on day 10 through, I'm guessing you said I need
14.
to start 2 days before I'm ready to bake the loaf. So
No,
about
you're
day,
gonna. So on day 14, and this may spill over into day 15, and this is just like the last test of tests.
okay.
You're gonna feed it twice in a day. You want to see. They say three rises and three falls. I say two rises and two falls. That's all you need. It's like going to two doctors and getting two opinions. But in the last day, whether it be day 14 or day 15, you're gonna feed it twice throughout the day. And if you get two rises that are double or triple, you're ready to go baking.
Okay.
If
So,
that does not happen, you continue feeding and discarding, and then we will add now a little bit of sugar to excite and entice them, and see what happens after that.
okay. So this is where this is all new to me. Let's just say day 14, I'm going to do my test because that was a prime question I had. How do I know when my sourdough is ready to bake. So the test is feed it twice. If it rises 2 times, it's good
Hmm.
to go. Yes?
That's yes, that would tell you that you're ready to bake. However, now that is just like the last test to test strength, starter strength.
Okay.
Now, how do you know when you're ready to bake? It's ready to bake. It's ready to use for baking when after you feed, it doubles or triples in size and it peaks, meaning that it gets all the way to the top where it can't raise anymore and then it starts to fall. And you can see that around the edges of your beaker. You can see the dips at the top of it. You'll be able to see it. So once it starts to fall, that is when it's ready to use. You pour it inside your bowl, you add water, flour, mix it up, salt, bulk ferment, blah blah blah, and you're good to go.
So we're supposed to rise all the way up here. That's a long way to go.
No, it doesn't have to rise. It has to double from wherever you set a marker.
Oh, got you.
I
Okay.
don't know if you have ever seen people use Sharpies and they'll put they put a line with a Sharpie or they put a rubber band around it. Yeah, it just is it has to double from that point, wherever point you mark it at.
Okay. I think this is a good spot to pause to at least get me to day 14. And then
Hmm.
I'm probably going to be messaging you like, okay, so what do I do now? Because I really
Okay.
want to try to bake on Sunday.
Okay.
But I've heard that you've actually got to start the process a couple of days beforehand. So am I going to be able to bake on Sunday or no?
Start what process?
Like, what is it called? The leaven? What is it called? I don't know.
I don't know what are you
Well,
referring
so
to.
what do I need to do to be able to make my first loaf?
So if they're saying that you would need to start on the Saturday, that would be correct. If wherever you pick that up from, that's what that would mean. If you would want the bread for Saturday for Sunday, you would want to start the process on a Saturday. And it does take 2 days typically. When you get really good, when you find your wave, it could be the same day bake. But that comes with strong responsive starter. That's really all that depends on. Um, you start the day before, you mix it together, bulk ferment, and then you go into a refrigerator for a cold proofing. The
Okay.
next day, you take it out, you let it sit, and you let it finish the proof, and then you score and you bake, and then you should have your loaf ready for Sunday. Um, Most people first loaves don't come out great. Second, third, or fourth, or fifth. Very few, and I'm being very straight with you because I'm not
Don't
gonna set
tell
you
me
up.
that. Don't tell me.
There's not. I mean, well, here's the thing. Everyone has their own idea of what a perfect loaf is supposed to look like. Some people are content with what comes out of their oven. Some people, like myself, it's not. It'll never be good enough. Um, and therefore, we're not gonna get into me because I'm whole complicated when it comes to what I want my loaves to look like. But let's talk about the forgiveness and the flexibility that we mentioned earlier, right? I don't know what a perfect loaf would be to you, and I don't know what you would want that loaf to look like. But whatever that is, hold on to that picture or hold on to that video and bake until you it looks just like what's in your mind or what your picture of a perfect loaf is. And that's what I tell everybody because that's going to look different to anybody. However, if it comes out a little flat, if it comes out a little overproofed or underproofed, or blah 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 blah, it doesn't matter. Still slap some butter on that shit, and it's just gonna be just as tasty as if it was perfect. And that is why it's forgiving and it's flexible because there's really no such thing as bad bread as long as it's edible. Right, because I done seen some shit now. I've seen some shit. Whoa, how did you even get that? How is that even possible? However, most of the time, as long as you can slice it up, feed your family, everybody's happy. And that is what is truly special about sourdough baking or bread baking in general. Cooking, you're literally doing for others. And I think back to our question of what's the joy, that is the joy. That is the joy of, when you tell somebody, listen, it took me 2 days to make this for you, right? I feel like there's a lot of power and love and care in that versus, oh, I just went to the store and picked this up. I paid some money, picked this up, and got it for you, right? You literally stopped everything. You literally threw that apron on and you sat there for 2 days and you tinkered on something and you came out with something beautiful for somebody else. There's a lot of power in that and strength in that. So, you know, keep that in mind. It don't got to be perfect because what may not be perfect, and that is the most important part. So, you will see some lows and you will see some people banging out some great lows. Just stick to your wave and just keep baking. Just keep
Okay.
the repetition is the father of learning. You just keep doing it
Oh,
and keep
that's
going.
so good. You are dropping like sourdough balls, nuggets, loaves,
All that.
all of this.
Yep.
So much wisdom. Thank you so much. So I am going to feed Big Boosie bread flour today. I'm going to discard half and then feed. And then I'm going to keep going until day 13 and feed twice, see if she's ready. If she is, that's when I'm going to message you.
If it doubles and I am every much so a rebel baker. Well, rebel chef. Period. I've always been. Don't give me no recipe because 9 times out of 10 I'm probably not gonna follow it anyways. However, I might read it because it provides me a structure or a roadmap, if you will, to get to where I want to go. However, I'm so much likely to turn left at the stop sign or go right just because it's the fork in the road, and I just like challenge and spontaneity. You know what I mean? I don't bake with thermometers. I don't bake with recipes. I bake using all my senses. Because of the point that I just made. It don't People make it seem like it got to be all of that. Think about it. If we talk about food history, bread has to be one of the oldest food. No, pick up whatever manuscript, Bible, Torah, whatever you want to pick up, any literature. Bread has to be one of the oldest foods known to mankind. And 5,000 years ago, they didn't have thermometers. They didn't have no ovens. They didn't have all of this, what we got now. It was just sweat, a little bit of elbow grease, and a little bit of sense. And we fed masses of people with this, right? So, not to say you got to be in there on some prehistoric kind of baking, but just keep that in mind. It don't got to be all of that. They wasn't baking with all these recipes and stuff. They just went what was in their heart, and they just did it, and it worked. And they expounded upon it. So don't let it pressure you. Have fun. Stress the fun. Have fun. Don't be afraid to try new things, and don't be afraid to fail. I didn't wait 14 days to bake with my starter. I didn't care. The first time it rose up, boom, I was in the kitchen slanging flour. I was just that intrigued. You know what I'm saying? So my experience came from just repetition. I was literally baked every day, and when I say every day, I am not lying to you. I literally mean every single day. If I didn't bake, it's because we went on vacation somewhere, or I had to go somewhere for a work trip. And even in those times, wherever I go, I usually find some flour and I bring starter with me. And where it don't matter where I'm at. The dojo is anywhere I'm at, and I always say that in my videos. The dojo is anywhere I'm at. Um, and that is how I came through my understanding. Of course, with reading and research, because there's that too. There's that, and it seems like a lot of people don't want to read or want to do the research. They'd rather ask somebody else, and it's like, yes, you can ask others, but I feel like to do yourself a due diligence, you educate yourself. You know what I'm saying? You sit and you read, or you sit and you watch a video, or you sit and you listen to a master baker talk about how he do his shit. And you take from that and you take that into your kitchen and you do something with whatever you took from him, however it can work for you. And you just keep going like that. And I feel like that's what separates in anything, not even just in life, period. That is those kind of things and exercises and little mind things that separate the good from the great. It's okay. You could be good at something, but there are people out here that want to be great at something. Therefore, they will go the extra mile if they have to make sure that they're great at it. And to come back to your original question of the fame part, yes. After a while, it become like, damn, now I want to be great at this. I want to be the king of breads. I want everybody to know it. You know what I mean? And that's in my headspace. But that's just me though.
All right, coach. Put me in. I'm excited.
Good, good. I'm glad.
I
I'm
am
glad.
so excited. Okay, we're going to wrap up. I want you to share just real quick what's next for Two Bruhz Bakery. Any exciting projects?
Well, I just picked up a third potential client here in Atlanta that wants me to do some custom breads for them. So I'm working on that. And then the everyday grind is just working until we get into our own space. I mean, that's the everyday grind, you know. And also that transitional space of leaving corporate America alone and, finally standing on my own too in my own business. So it's just like I'm so close but yet so far. So that is the daily grind. That is the, people are always knocking on my door, which is a blessing. It also sucks too because it's like a lot of the requests I can't currently do it because I'm not set up that way, but it's good to know that, like I say, people sought me out. um and one more point before we go, because I feel like this is important, very important. um Pretty sure you can find bakeries, you know, all across the land, no matter where you go. Here in Atlanta, I'm pretty sure there's, three off top that I know that I look at as competition. However, um, they're all white owned, right? And yes, I'm gonna go there because I love everybody, but I'm real blackety black, black on inside, like for real though. As a chef, being in being in the culinary field for as long as I have, and seeing what our people have to deal with and go through in a corporate space, it is true as they say. The things that you hear, it is actually true. If you work in corporate America, you'll understand. And as chefs, being a chef is such a creative thing. And for us, there are ceilings. There's so many ceilings for us in that space. And I'm just speaking of culinary. Um, I pride myself, in short, I pride myself on being in spaces where we are totally underrepresented and shining. I feel that is so important. Cooking. I mean, there's so many stories I can't tell you. KFC is probably one of the biggest stories. This was stolen from black people. Um, and I can't tell you how many other things that's not even food related that's been taken from black people that we created, and somebody else is profiting off it that don't look like us, right? And that's another thing, as we have more conversations about bread and we have more bread talk, that is another thing that motivated me to get into bread because it's a space that we don't really, in that particular space, you won't find too many of us. Yes, we bake pies and we bake cakes and we bake cookies and muffins, and when they see you and you tell them a baker, that's the first thing they ask. They're not gonna say, "Oh, you make croissants? Oh, you make focaccia? Oh, you make baguettes?" They're not going to it don't even compute because it's not a space that we are in, that we dominate in. When they see you, "Oh, I bet your collard greens taste good. I bet your fried chicken tastes good because you black and that's the only thing you can cook." In their mind, like, just because you black, oh, that's the only cornbread, that's the only thing you like. No. So, and especially being in Atlanta, they call it the Wakanda. There's so much talent here, but it's like you have to have that mindset to push past, to push that envelope, to break out of those limitations, to be in these spaces. I wish there was more James Beard winning black chefs. More black chefs that have Michelin stars. But if you walk into a lot of these kitchens, the workforce is us. The workforce is the minority. The head of the workforce is a white guy. And again, I'm only speaking in my field. I see this every day. I can only imagine how that relates to other industries, but that's how it is in my field. Minority workforce, the head of it is always going to be white. And if there's one black guy above that, it is only because that company has a diversity inclusion clause in their bylaws that they have to respect before somebody take them to jail or try to sue them. So I love, and that's why a lot of people sought me out, is because, like, damn dog, you doing that? And people ask me, like, you make this bread? Like, yeah, I wouldn't be sitting here selling it if, you know what I mean, if I wasn't making it. So I feel like that's important, and I push that, especially to our brothers and our sisters. I push that more than I push anything else. And it's not it might have some racial undertone. I leave that to whomever's listening, and I let them figure that out. But it's not. It's just me powering up my people, bigging up my folks. Like, look, guys, don't let them put you in that box. Be bigger than that box. Go into that box and bust the hell out of that box and create your own box that's bigger than theirs. That's what's really important. However you do it. I guess my path is the bread. But however you choose to do that, I feel that's very important as, black people, essentially. And that's it for me.
Wow. This w- this whole conversation was greater than anything that I could have anticipated. Um, Sachi, you are truly a gift to this world. Thank you for sharing your gift
Oh, no problem.
with
Thank you so
us
much.
and being here in this conversation. I could keep talking to you, and I feel like this is going to be a long term relationship. That who would have thought
Yes,
threads would
absolutely,
connect with
absolutely,
people.
absolutely.
I'm really excited about that. I truly believe in divine connections, divine interactions, and so I'm hoping that um, this space, this channel, this podcast, whatever I end up calling it, connects joy and humanity together, right? And
Yep.
hopefully paves a way also for liberation. So I love that you mentioned uh, oppression also in this work and lack of visibility for just
Hmm.
my folks that's been doing this. Even when I look on YouTube and I'm trying to search for different videos, I'm like, I have yet to see a black, maybe I'm not searching right, but I have yet to see a
Yeah.
black person pop up in my feed that is talking about this. But
Right.
I am nevertheless um, very intrigued. And normally, I think I used to be like, oh, well, that's not something black folks do. Like, we're not into that. But it's just amazing when you find your path, your joy. Uh, Race really isn't a factor. So,
Nope.
how can people find you? Let's end there before we go
Oh,
adult
you can find you can
because I
find you
can
can find you can find us on Facebook at Two Bruhz Bakery, and you can find us on IG at Two Bruhz_Bakery. You can find me if you want to see our chef page. That's at chef_Satchie on IG as well. Yeah, and reach out if you guys need anything. We ship, we courier. If you're in the city, if you out of the city, we will get it to you.
okay.
Definitely.
If I mess up Big Boosie, okay, can you ship me some starter? Do you do that?
Yes, but we ain't gonna mess it up. Trust me, we can't mess it
All right,
up.
I'm not gonna have a plan B, only plan A.
Yep, that's
All
it.
right, Chachi, thank you so very much.
Thank you so much. Also,
I'm gonna give your morning back to you, okay?
yes, ma'am.
All
You
right.
have a good day.
Thank you.
All right, bye.
All right, y'all. If you made it this far in the video, then listen, thank you for watching. I hope that you are just as inspired as I am to go swank some dough in the kitchen and find some joy. All right. Actually, I don't care what it is that you do. I hope that you are just inspired to find something that lights you up, that makes you excited, that makes you curious, that makes you revisit that young version of yourself. I hope that you give yourself the gift of curiosity and play. Um, in this way. So thank you for watching. Can you do me a favor? All right. If you wouldn't mind, please like, comment, but most definitely subscribe to my channel. I'm excited to have more conversations like this along the lines of joy and life and all the things in between. But until then, I'll see you next time. All right. Love and light to you guys.